Hello, I'm Kurt Owen. Welcome to all you legacy-minded men. First, let me say how important I think what legacy-minded men is doing. They're reaching out to the men all over the world and helping them, and you can help them back. If you're getting a lot out of these teaching, whether it's mine or somebody else's, you can really help and change people's lives by subscribing, and supporting legacy-minded men. Joe Pellegrino and the staff there are committed to your good and to seeing you to your spiritual growth, and it's something worthy of being supported. Today, I'm Kurt Owen. I want to talk to you about Samuel. He's a man in the Bible that honestly, he had a phenomenal life. From a very young age, well, actually even before he was born, his mother had cried out for a man from God, and she said, "If I can have a child, then I will dedicate him to you." And so Samuel is dedicated to the Lord. God does give her a child. And then he actually grows up in the temple. And the Lord begins to speak to him from a very young age. But like many of us, he doesn't quite know it's God talking to him, right? And so he has to have some instruction. I encourage you in this. I believe that God is speaking to you because the Bible's clear that he wants to have fellowship with you, but you might not be able to recognize it. I encourage you to get materials and get around men that can tutor and train you in how to hear from God. Exactly what happened with Samuel. So Samuel does begin to hear from God, and he begins to prize the voice of God. That when God speaks to him, he is immediately obedient. And because of that, he's given certain privileges. First, he anoints the first two kings of Israel. Now, it's kind of a double-edged sword where that is really, because Israel was never supposed to have a king, but they kept begging God for a king. And Samuel actually tried to stop them. He tried to stand up for the Lord. He's tried to stand up to an entire nation on behalf of the Lord. Is that something you would be willing to do? Maybe if you began to hear from God better, that would give you more confidence in being willing to stand up to the people around you. But finally, he does anoint him a king. He anoints a man that he grows to love. His name is Saul. But Saul blows it. I mean, he spectacularly rejects the things of God and runs away. Now, Samuel keeps trying to help him. You know, that's an admirable trait. Do you keep trying to help people that have blown it? I'm not saying go on forever, but I'm saying, do you take what's in you and try to share it with other people so that they say, "Hey, man, don't leave the things of God. Don't leave the things you know." But Saul did. And then I saw Samuel do something that was so admirable. He loves Saul, and God says, "Listen, I'm done with him. Well, this is over. You need to go tell him, and this is what you need to go tell him." Do you know so many of us, and Samuel didn't like the idea, and there's so many of us that when God tells us to do something that we don't want to do, we drag our feet. Is that been you? Because it's been me. I can just tell you flat out, there's things God's told me to do and that I have dragged my feet for years doing. But Samuel was not like that. He despised it. He did not want this for Saul. He loved Saul, and he did not want this to be ripped from him. But when the Lord spoke, it says he got up early the next day to go do what God had told him to do. You know, I want that in my life, and I want that for you, because this nation, the men of this nation, both in the church and out of the church, need to see men that can hear from God accurately. And then when God speaks, whether they like it or whether they don't, they are quickly obedient to what God has told them to do. That they have a true revelation that Jesus is Lord. He's not the great negotiator. He's not the great suggester, but he is Lord. And when he speaks, we should obey, because he sees more out ahead than we do. And Samuel was a great example of this, that he prized hearing from God. And then when he heard from God, even when it was something he didn't want to do, he got up early and went and did it. I believe that you can be this man. The world is waiting to see men that will do this. Will you join me in wanting to grow out of all the days in the past where I have been slowly obedient and become quickly obedient? I believe you will. I'm going to be praying for you. I'm Kurt Owen, reminding you that Jesus is risen. Victory is assured.